Welcome to the Western New York Athletics High School Football Weekly Show with Frank Wolf and Dick Gallagher. Brought to you by Scroy Financial in West Seneca, Danny's Restaurant with 2 locations, 3715 Genesee Street in Cheektowaga and in Orchard Park on Abbott Road near the stadium, and G&G Fitness at 7350 Transit Road near Main Street in Amherst. Check them out on the web at livefit.com.
Hello and welcome back to another exciting season of high school football in Western New York. This is the High School Football Weekly Show, courtesy of WNYathletics.com. I am Frank Wolf, joined by the wonderful Dick Gallagher from WGRZ High School Sports. Dick, we're at it for year 2. Somebody's paying us to do this. I can't believe it.
Hey, this is a gift. We all enjoy following high school football, and I've done it from the latter 70s, played in the 50s, so I'm a dinosaur.
Well, hey, so are you like a T-Rex, or would you call yourself a Brontosaurus, or what? Those are the only 2 dinosaurs I remember.
No.
Well, this year we're lucky to have West Her Ford family, the West Her family of dealerships on board, along with Scroy Financial and G&G Fitness as show sponsors. And for the first show, Dick, I figured we'd get right into it, and let's not waste too much time. Let's get right into the Monsignor Martin and preview the Monsignor Martin division first, and then we'll work our way down all the way through Class D, and then maybe a little bit into the 8-man football. But heading into week 1, most of our Monsignor Martin teams are either on the road or they're playing out-of-conference games. In particular, St. Francis, they're going to head down to Erie High School and take on the Erie Royals week 1. That's Friday night. They're playing at Gannon University, a game that can be seen on the NFHS network, courtesy of the WNY Athletics production crew. What have you heard about St. Francis in the offseason? Coach Jerry Smith, they are the defending Monsignor Martin champions. What's your take on St. Francis at this point in the season?
Well, the interesting thing, I think, you take the fact that there's 2 divisions, and one is Canisius, St. Francis, and St. Joe's, the large schools, the smaller St. Mary's, Cardinal O'Hara, and Timon. The Monsignor Martin had to have the worst defensive year they ever had in its history last year. When you took a look at the points that they gave up, when you look at the offseason, when you look at the number of kids returning, particularly for St. Francis, led by Jake Ritz, Eric Sean. Then if you look at the Jaworski brothers with Zach and Matt, they are going to be a force, I think. And going into the season, I think that the Red Raiders have to be one of the favorites, even though Canisius is going to be strong and St. Joe's should be able to improve their record from last year.
Well, we know their wide receiver, they lost their big wide receiver to Holy Cross, graduated out, who had a big catch against Navy last Saturday. But they do have Xavier Janzelik coming back, running the ball out of the backfield. That's a nice weapon to have. But it comes down to the offensive line play. Will they be able to block for Janzelik? Are they going to be able to give Ritz the time he needs to find that open receiver? He's got Antonio Corsi, the tight end, coming back, who's a big target. Very tough to bring down once he makes the catch. He's great in open field. But I think my main concern, if I'm a St. Francis supporter, is I want to make sure that offensive line holds up all year, and how quickly Eric Schoen, returning lineman heading to Holy Cross himself, gets those guys on the same page. But they look big, they look strong, but do they have the depth on the line in case somebody goes down? That's going to be a concern.
I think that if you take a look at it, that the line is important. Eric is going to be the anchor in that line on both sides. When you really look at it, the linebackers have to come up big this year and being able to make the tackles they didn't make last year, or otherwise we're going to have 48, 47 games.
Absolutely. Mark Ariza, he missed part of the year last year, I believe. He's back, kicker, wide receiver. He plays a pivotal role for St. Francis, and I'm looking to see them have a pretty good season. But week 1 is a tough matchup. They lost that game against Erie High School last year, 35-21. It looks like they had maybe one bad quarter, but we'll see how they tighten the ship up. And Jerry Smith, who's honestly probably the best coach in all of Western New York. Definitely one of my favorites, and I know he's one of yours as well. But he'll have those guys ready to go Friday night.
When you take a look at the number of years he's been head coach, I think it's 30, 31. then take a look at the victories, which I think is 130 plus. He's like not a dinosaur, but he's like a relic, and he gets the most out of those kids, and he does not allow for anything but giving 100% effort, and also every one of those players is accountable every play, whether it's practice or the game, and that's why he's been so successful.
I agree. Moving on to St. Joe's, coached by Eric Landry. I believe he enters his third year as head coach there. Correct me if I know we have Dennis Sorrow in the studio. Dennis, does that sound correct? Landry entering his third year as head coach? Yeah. He's brought in a quarterback from Canada named Callum Wither. Now, I don't know much about him other than the fact that he stands at 6'4". There's a lot of video on him out at on Huddle that you can find. I've been told he has not played a varsity down just yet, but he is he's highly thought of. I know that there's a couple of college recruiting services that boast about his potential. So we'll have to see how he fits into that offense at St. Joe's. What that does is it moves Mika Brown into the backfield or maybe in the slot receiver position. We'll have to see what they do. But I think Mika Brown is poised to have a very big season with this new quarterback in the fold.
Plus, Mika is all of us in New York preseason candidate mainly just because of what he brings to the table with his athleticism, speed, and knowledge of the game. I think, again, it's going to come down for the defense on the part of St. Joe's, given their second game of the season when they play Bennett, which to me is going to be one of the better fast-track games because both teams are very athletic. But they also have other kids, Sam Klein, and if you take a look at it, Jimmy Scott, who's only, I think, a sophomore this year, he's an outstanding athlete. And I really think that St. Joe's, at least in my opinion and estimation, have not played as well in the last couple of years and have not had the record that clearly should be within the Monsignor Martin. And I really think that they're going to have to play a lot better this year than last year, because when you look at the three big schools, they play outstanding talent, some of the better talent not only in New York State but Ohio, Pennsylvania, and they play sometimes much better quality teams than some of the Section 6 teams.
Well, they're going to open up the season on Saturday against McDowell. That's at St. Joe's Saturday, 2 p.m. kickoff there. We'll have to see how they do, and then next week they get Bennett public school team. I'm glad that Bennett and Joe's can agree to play those games. It's good to see the publics play the privates. Right. And I my kudos to both coaches, Landry and McDuffie at Bennett, for putting that game together. Moving on, we'll get to Canisius here before we take our first break. Canisius has that three-headed monster right now under center. You've got Tyler Baker, who's just a sophomore, who's been putting a lot of time in. You got Gabe, the junior now. I believe Gabe's a junior. And the other kid they just brought in from Austin Williams from Warsaw. So I'm not sure who the quarterback is just yet, but whoever is, they've got some weapons. You've got Max Dowling coming back. You got JoJo Dixon in the backfield, a kid who came in from Niagara Falls, and Antoine Gandy, who's poised to have a breakout year as well. I've seen some film on him, and he's got some quick moves, very, very good on his feet, changing direction. He's a guy that can get open and then make you miss tackle. So, and then, of course, it all starts with that offensive line. And Canisius, Donovan Cornelius, they don't get much bigger and tougher than Donovan.
Well, plus the James Troop also is an outstanding lineman. Donovan is Western New York candidate. And if you take a look at the assets for the Crusaders, one of them is the height, size of the receiving core, 6'3", 6'4". So when you take a look at quarterback, get the ball who's 6'4 plus, they're going to put some points on the board. And it's going to be, I think, going toward the end of the season, but playing the three teams in the large school playing each other, although Canisius and St. Joe's plays the third week of the season.
And Canisius will start their season out in Euclid, Ohio, Friday at 7 p.m. That is an away game. Coach Robbins has his team ready, focused. They just have to name their starting quarterback, and I'm sure he's named it already, but, those, they don't talk. Whatever they do in there, they kind of keep in-house until the last possible second, and you got to applaud that. But, Dick, why don't we step away for a moment, take a quick break for a word from our sponsors. We'll be back with High School Football Weekly with Frank Wolf and Dick Gallagher in just a moment.
Hey, Josh Allen.
Hey, thanks for coming by.
Big fan.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm all about that teamwork.
Yeah, that's West Her. Get the right people, working together, making connections. In fact, show me what you got. I'm going along.
Really?
Woo. Made me work for it, but anything worth doing.
Listen, I know you're good at this TV deal, but maybe you should try the football thing.
We didn't get here by accident. It starts with a plan to protect your future, to invest in your future. It started with Scroy Financial. Plan, protect, invest. Scroy Financial.
Why do you exercise? To look better? To feel better? To drop a few pounds? To train for an event? To defy age? Or to keep your ability to say yes to the things you love to do? Whatever motivates you, G&G Fitness Equipment is here to get you there. Treadmills, ellipticals, rowers, bikes, home gyms, and accessories. We'll pair you with the right equipment, teach you how to use it, and be there every step of your fitness journey. G&G Fitness. Your goal is our goal.
We needed a plan to protect what matters most. By investing in our future, that all started with Scroy Financial. Plan, protect, invest. Scroy Financial.
You're back with WNY Athletics High School Football Weekly. I'm Frank Wolf, joined by Dick Gallagher from WGRZ High School Sports. And continuing on with the Monsignor Martin, Dick, we left off at, we were going to get into Bishop Timon, O'Hara, and St. Mary's. For the second two teams I mentioned, St. Mary's of Lancaster and O'Hara, low on numbers this year. They're still going to field teams, but O'Hara already had to cancel that first game against Bishop Ireton from Virginia, so the team from Alexandria will not be coming up, and that's due to players not having enough practices in before that first game. But I've talked to Shaq Dudley, and I've talked to a couple of the players on the team. They said that they will be ready to go for week 2, so we'll have to wait and see. I believe they've got McKinley week 2 or maybe week 3, but I'll figure that out. But as of right now, O'Hara will not have a game in that first week. But they have some incoming players that should really help them out this year. Again, numbers are down, but they've got a kid named Sam Torrey coming in from Newport. He's not as defined as a guy like Joe Powers, but he played with Joe Powers, and I talked to him a couple weeks ago, and he said he learned an awful lot from Joe, and he still communicates with him, and he learned so much from him that he thinks he's going to be able to use that experience and help him and other guys on the line. They also have Nigel Williams, who you mentioned during the break, real big kid, real friendly kid, nice guy, but he's just a monster on the line, so that should help O'Hara at least, and they have some skilled guys coming back. But Shaq Dudley's got his hands full trying to get more players out, but he's got Ann Chandra's help, who's back as the AD, at least for 1 year.
Years ago, they had 16 teams in Monsignor Martin. Now they have 6. When you take a look at 8-man football, you take a look at merged programs, Cardinal O'Hara has numbers issues. St. Mary's had 50 kids in the roster 2 years ago. They've got some issues. Timon was big with just a small number in the enrollment. As far as on the team, they've got better. They have 34 on this team. So who knows what the future's going to look like for Monsignor Martin, particularly with the small school division.
Which brings us into St. Mary's. They welcomed a new coach into the program this year. What do you know about St. Mary's heading into 2019?
Well, I know is that they had quality players, and take a look at Matt Ard taking over for Chris Dixon. They'll be competitive, but I don't know if they're going to have the talent to be competitive, even though the schedule, I believe, this year is a little weaker than it was last year. And when you look at it, 2 years where they had 40, 50, then what transpired, why the decrease all of a sudden in those kids coming out for football. So, and if you take a look at St. Mary's, Levi Taberski, Thomas Morris, Jaquan Manuel, and Jenfar Henderson are some of just the key players for the Lancers.
They open up at home against a team called Huron Heights, and I'm not exactly sure where they're from. Canada, Canandaigua, but either way, they're playing a team called Huron Heights at 1 p.m. on Saturday. That's the St. Mary's Lancaster. Bishop Timon, a lot of people are talking about the job Joe Licata's done since taking over the Tigers 2 years ago. One thing he's got coming back, which Joe knows a lot about, is the offensive line, because Joe, as a quarterback at Will South and at UB, had the luxury of having a lot of beef up front. Well, we talked about this during the break. Brendan Davey, Alex Reinhardt, C.J. Varela, Todd Perkovich, and Luke McMahon, all of them are 6 feet, 6'1" and above, all over 250 pounds. They're going to give that young quarterback a lot of room and some time to throw the ball, find some receivers, and maybe open up that running game as well.
Plus, their schedule is a lot weaker this year than in past years. And if you're taking a look, I think that they open with Iroquois. I think Akron is on their schedule. So the AD, Joe, as well as that head football coach, has made tremendous movement toward making their team schedule. If you take a look at what transpired with Timon over the years, you look at the number of quality players that wound up having to transfer to other places, i.e. Matt Myers from Timon to West Seneca West. A couple of other players helped them win a state championship. So hopefully the Tigers will be able to turn it around and get on the have more wins and losses this year.
Right now, a lot of people are talking that they should take that small school division, and with the trouble that O'Hare and St. Mary's are having, at least with numbers and depth, it gives Timon real hope to reclaim that division, and who knows what happens.
And particularly with 5 linemen returning and some 3- and 4-year starters.
Let's move on to AA before we get into our second break. Now in AA, Dick, Jamestown is back up in that AA division. They lost Will North, though, so Hutch Tech, Bennett, Niagara Falls, Lancaster, Orchard Park, Clarence, Lockport Frontier, and then, as I mentioned, Jamestown are all in AA this year. A couple of the teams that you really want to start out talking about, Lancaster comes to mind immediately because they have a lot of good returning players, and they probably have one of the better coaching staffs in all of Western New York. You know, until someone beats Lancaster when the money's on the line, i.e. playing at New Era Field, that's where you're going to start, and that's where you end talking about AA. It starts with Lancaster until you beat them, and Bennett did do that in the regular season, but until you beat them, that's where it starts.
And Eric Rupp, Dave Mansell, Brian Wild, and the rest of the coaching staff, as you mentioned, is one of the best, if not in Western New York, also throughout New York State. They've all played the game. They know what to do. They put the kids in the right position, and they're very, very competitive. And they make tremendous adjustments in the second half when they need to, and that's resulted in them playing for the state championship a couple of years ago.
And Ryan Mansell continues to develop to be a nice young quarterback in Western New York. He's poised to have a pretty big year, and Sean Davis returns again. I expect Lancaster to have a pretty good year. And, of course, you got to talk about that linebacker, Connor Mahoney. He's one of the toughest.
Well, between Connor Mahoney, first team on Western New York last year, and Matt Mushner, those are two of the best dynamic duo linebackers for any team in New York State, never mind. But Lancaster returns quality kids, quality positions, and when you look at what they expect from those kids, how much they're working out during the year, they are ready to play when they go against and they host Hutch Tech in the first week.
We've got Clarence. It's another team to talk about. They've lost a lot of good players, offensive line. They lost a couple of guys up there, but Zach Norton returns, and he started out pretty good last year. And if he can get some confidence and some blocking, you never know. Clarence could be there at the end.
They could surprise, but Zach Norton needs to touch the ball 20 times a game. I don't care if it's running, pass, receiving, whatever. That didn't happen last year, but then when you had Putney and you had Stevens,
yeah.
they were the 3-year starter studs, and they got an awful lot of the offensive activity. So right now, the key to that whole season right now is the line and Zach Norton being able to get maybe 1,500 yards rushing.
Certainly possible. We're going to take another break here. We'll be right back with Western New York Athletics High School Football Weekly.
Why do you exercise? To look better? To feel better? To drop a few pounds? To train for an event? To defy age? Or to keep your ability to say yes to the things you love to do? Whatever motivates you, G&G Fitness Equipment is here to get you there. Treadmills, ellipticals, rowers, bikes, home gyms, and accessories. We'll pair you with the right equipment, teach you how to use it, and be there every step of your fitness journey. G&G Fitness. Your goal is our goal.
We needed a plan to protect what matters most. By investing in our future, that all started with Scroy Financial. Plan, protect, invest. Scroy Financial.
Hey, Josh Allen.
Hey, thanks for coming by.
Big fan.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm all about that teamwork.
Yeah, that's West Her. Get the right people, working together, making connections. In fact, show me what you got. I'm going along.
Really?
Made me work for it, but anything worth doing.
Listen, I know you're good at this TV deal, but maybe you should try the football thing.
We didn't get here by accident. It starts with a plan to protect your future, to invest in your future. It started with Scroy Financial. Plan, protect, invest. Scroy Financial.
Welcome back to WNYathletics.com, High School Football Weekly, presented by Scroy Financial, the West Her family of dealerships, and G&G Fitness. I'm Frank Wolf, along with Dick Gallagher, for segment number 3. We're going to finish up with the double A's and move into A. We want to talk about Orchard Park a little bit, that we think that they may have a pretty good year, or be one of those teams that could push Lancaster this year. They've got a pretty nice defensive player coming back, and of course, Jack Sharp, one of the better quarterbacks in Western New York.
Well, Michael Pataki is a two-way threat at linebacker as well as running back, and he's an outstanding athlete. Then if you take a look at Jack Sharp, the quarterback, and Christian Lancaster, who was at Orchard Park as a freshman, I believe, then went to Philadelphia, and he's back as a junior, 6'4", 220 pounds. He's a load. Excuse me.
That's the X factor right there.
Yep, and Brad Fowler, who's 6'5", 200, tight end. I think they got the makings to definitely be in the top 2 or 3 in Class AA, and it's just going to depend on that they stay healthy, and particularly if Jack Sharp is going to light up the offense, because he really has got better every year, and he's a 3-year starter now.
And that's Craig Dana moving into year number 2 as the coach of the Orchard Park Quakers. Bennett, Dejai Perry returns, and last year they took on Lancaster at the stadium for the Section 6 championship. Dick, I expect them to really have another great season with Coach McDuffie running that team. He did lose one of his assistant coaches, Brian Davis, went over to McKinley, but Bennett with Dejai Perry and Justin Campbell coming back, they got one of the most explosive backfields in all of Western New York.
I think they have the most athleticism and talent right on their roster compared to others. But then if you take a look at it, it really, I think, is going to depend on the quarterback play and also their line, who, when you take a look at Jeremiah Williams, 6'3", 240, Nashawn Oliver, who's on the small size, but he's really outstanding lineman, LB. And I just think that when Bennett plays at Lancaster, there's going to be a war, mainly because Lancaster's going to look to continue their, comfort load, because they won the sectional championship for the 3rd year in a row. They're trying for a 4th. Not too many Western New York schools have won 4th, but they're going to be competitive. And what I heard was Rashard Perry, a freshman, Dejai's brother, is an outstanding athlete, could be starting for the Tigers, and so the rich get richer.
And Eric Rupp, does he get a little softer now that he just welcomed a baby boy into the world? Is he a little softer? Is he off his game a little bit? He's got a lot more responsibilities, some diapers to change and everything else. So, Rupp's got a lot on his plate right now.
Having interacted with the majority of the coaches in Lancaster, whether you're a Redskin or a Legend, they don't get soft, and they have tremendous accountability. They have schedules that allow them to be good family people, but also teach the best way to how to play football, regardless of the position or the offense that they run. And it'll be fun to watch them this year. And the key thing will be Eric, I believe, teaches at Hamburg. So I wouldn't be surprised if somewhere along the road he's got a nice job back in Lancaster to make sure that he'll continue to be the coach. Because we look at the small number of coaches at Lancaster over the years, particularly led by Len Jankovic and Joe Foyle, they just excel at respecting the game, respecting the players, and winning.
And we might as well take this opportunity to send our best to Mr. Rupp. We know Eric's father has been fighting an uphill battle, so we continue to pray for you and send you our best wishes from WNY Athletics. Moving on, Jamestown is back into AA. What do they have other than Savon Van Sickle? And can that kid stay healthy, because he's a joy to watch?
Well, if you look at Savon Van Sickle, if he doesn't get hurt last year, they're going to be up there in the playoffs and a candidate for the championship. He's already being looked at by major schools and the SEC, Big Ten, because of his size, athleticism on both sides of the ball. If he stays healthy, the Red Raiders are going to be a force in AA. Then if you look at Elijah Rojas, who's also an outstanding basketball player and athlete, and then Simon Leeper, who's in the Leeper entourage over the years, with Aaron Leeper scoring 47 touchdowns and leading his team in 2004 to a state championship. And they're going to be competitive. Plus Tom Langworthy, Dave Madola, plus the coaching staff, and have one of the better coaching staffs also.
That leaves us with Frontier, Lockport, Niagara Falls, and Hutch Tech, 4 teams that have been playing catch-up. I'm on record as saying that, and some coaches don't necessarily like me saying that, but it's the truth. Yeah. I don't know if there's any way to look at it, but they've been playing catch-up the last couple of years. Hutch Tech is at...
And he passed for 2,000 yards last year. He'll be a force this year. They don't have Brooks. Frontier, I think Hayden Carter, who's a running back, is only a junior. He's a key player. No relation, but Sean Gallagher also is an outstanding player for the Falcons. Then if you look at Hutch Tech, Jaden Robinson is an excellent quarterback. He threw for 1,500 yards last year. In Niagara Falls, Sion Price, Willie McDougall. They lost JoJo Dixon, outstanding athlete, to
Canisius,
and Colin Stone. But I think that if you take a look at it, to me, the big 4 going in: Lancaster, Bennett, Orchard Park, and Jamestown.
I know this. I know with Hutch Tech you're going to get a fight. That's not going to be an easy game. They may not win 5-6 games this year, but you're going to be in a dogfight. Niagara Falls is always a pretty fast team, quick. Same with Lockport. They got a lot of speed. And then Frontier always seems to have size. If they can get some guys into, to help get that offense going, Frontier might be able to turn things around. But, when Lockport and Niagara Falls are good, when they're really good, that's an unbelievable division. That might be one of the best that might be one of the best divisions in all of New York State when all those teams are going.
I think it was 4 years ago, Frontier was playing for a sectional championship at the stadium. So they just had,
not too far away. Yeah. Getting back into Class A now. We're moving right along here. Class A, Williamsville North drops down into the A1 division. A1, you got Will North, West Seneca West, Niagara Wheatfield, Kenmore West, McKinley, North Tonawanda, Hamburg, and Williamsville East. Over in A2, you've got Kenmore East, Sweet Home, Grand Island, Williamsville South, South Park, Star Point, Amherst, and West Seneca East. And when I look at these teams, I know Will North has been sorting things out at the quarterback position, but dropping them down to A, And with West Seneca West losing a number of players, all-stars, Niagara Wheatfield lost a quarterback, Kenmore West, they don't necessarily have the depth, and I'm not sure what to expect out of McKinley just yet. North Tonawanda has been struggling a little bit there. Hamburg is an up-and-coming team, and Williamsville East seems to be a lot stronger than what they were. I would say an A1, Dick. I like Will North's chances. I think West Seneca West is still the team to beat there. Liam Shire, that's my favorite story in Western New York. What that kid's gone through the last 3 seasons, it was his job at quarterback. Then Myers transfers in, and you're not going to start over Matt Myers. Then he's going into his junior season as the quarterback. A kid from Sweet Home transfers in at the last second, bumps him out of his starting job, and now it's actually his job. And my hat's off to that kid. He never complained. He went out and did what the coaches asked him to do, and that's my favorite player, I think, in all of Western New York because of the way that kid has kept his head up and kept battling, kept fighting. And my hat's off. I'm rooting for that kid.
It's like Hurts from Alabama. Sometimes you're in a good spot, sometimes not a bad spot. But what he did was a class act. Same way, this gentleman is this player is Jacka. I like West Seneca West. I think that they're the favorites to win that division. When you take a look at Mike Linsky, been 2-year All-Western New York linebacker, and then you take Liam Shure, he's been second team, first team I think it was, the second team. They've got some talent. Mike Fistola's done an excellent job with the coaching staff. And Williamsville North's got some really decent players. Scott Hopkins is very versatile. Sarah Leonard, only a sophomore. Elijah Carney, who transferred from Kenmore West last year. He's an outstanding lineman. Jake Bruno. But I don't think North has the talent that they had in the last 3 years. But that's why they play the game. But I think going in, West has got to be the preseason favorite.
West Seneca West. Now, Kenmore West, we've learned in the last 48 hours or so, they received a transfer from St. Joe's, David Morgan Jr., and his brother Antonio, who I hear is also an exceptional athlete. They joined their brother Sammy over there, so there's 3 Morgans over there at Ken West. But you also have Zach Boyes at quarterback and a lot of returning linemen there. So Johnny Haynes is pretty optimistic about his team. One area of concern for him is the depth. He says they don't have it, but when you have an experienced quarterback like Zach Boyes, a kid who's got a great head on his shoulders, excellent student of the game, anything's possible. And now with this Morgan kid coming in to go along with Eddie Vona, the other tailback they have, Kenmore West might surprise some teams. And plus Morgan is going to be a nice little linebacker for him too.
Right, and I think that when you take a look at Zach Boyes, he's one of the few kids playing high school sports that plays 4 sports. And he excels at all of them, whether it's baseball, basketball, football, or golf. And I have no idea what he's going to be doing in college, but he excelled last year, and I really believe that with his leadership, along with the players that you mentioned and the coaching staff with Jim Haynes, I think that you're right, they're going to be very competitive.
Moving on, Williamsville East, could they surprise some teams this year?
Mike Turillo is one of the best coaches. He's with John Fowler for all those years. He's really done well. Cal Shiflett, who's a member of the Shiflett entourage that every kid and every parent is an athlete. He's 6'3", 6'4". He's an outstanding basketball player. And also, when you have a leader like Cal who can really make a difference in a game, they should be in the playoffs.
Then McKinley, I don't know if they can challenge this year. I believe they've got their 3rd head coach in 3 years, so that's a whole entirely new system. I'm pretty sure he brought a kid along with him from Bennett. I can't recall his name right now, but McKinley might be able to surprise some teams. They open up their season at Will North, so that's a very interesting week 1 matchup. I think Will North definitely lost a lot, but those 2 teams, they fight, scratch, and claw for every inch of that field. That's going to be a very hard-hitting game. And whoever comes out of that one, man, oh man, that could propel them into having a really good season.
But if you take a look at it, the 4 make the playoffs. So when you take a look at it, you could probably have 6 teams. Any one of those 4 of those 6 could make the playoffs.
And Hamburg could be a spoiler this year. North Tonawanda, I know Wally Wisniewski's hanging around. Was he going to Joe's? Was he not going to Joe's? He is at North Tonawanda. He's got a little bit of an injury he's got to recover from, but he should be back on the field within a couple of weeks, and that could help at least give them some more stability. I know Rick Tom, the head coach there, is known for being one of the best defensive coordinators in all of Western New York, one of the best coaches. He assumes the head coaching role. If anything, North Tonawanda is going to be very aggressive on defense, and you may not score a lot of points on them, but you're going to earn them.
Right, and when you take Wisniewski, Eric Jansian supplied me with the information for the preseason and mentioned he was the best, underclassman or best player. But if you take a look at Rick Tom, who excelled as defensive coordinator for Williamsville South, outstanding coaching staff, and what they've had to go through in the last couple of years, now I think that with Rick being the head coach, he's going to put them in the right direction, and they are going to be competitive. But I'll go back to my original. I think when you have kids that are 3 years all West New York players, with Liam and with Liam Shore, I'm blocking on. But if you take a look at that talent and the quarterback that really excelled, being a class act and doing what was best for his team, I don't know if there's any other team that's going to be able to compete with them, particularly when you have 2 studs that are all-state defensive players.
A2 is interesting. South Park has been one of those teams that just seems to win when they have to. Coach Delaney does an excellent job. I know up front and on the line they should be pretty strong. Clarence Thomas returns, and he's ready to go. He's healthy. One of the things I've heard is that maybe they have to get better in the secondary. But I expect South Park to be there, a playoff team for sure. West Seneca East, they lose one of the best players we've seen in quite some time in Sean Dolak. What does West Seneca East, what do the Trojans have coming back this year? Can they make up for that loss? That's a long way. That's a high hope for sure. Star Point, they got another young quarterback coming in, and he's got John Carlson on the wideout. So maybe Star Point is going to be just as good as they were last year. Great, and is it Justin Bauman, their offensive coordinator? I think it's their offensive coordinator, I believe, is a guy named Bauman, who's actually from Kenmore East, who they play week 1 out at Sparky Adams Field. And Kenmore East, talking to Coach Feltry, he believes they're much improved, especially in the backfield. He thinks he's got a nice set of running backs back there that should be able to help keep their offense on the field more than they were last year, because that's one of the things that's hurt the Bulldogs over the years is their offense isn't on the field as much. Well, this year with the good running game, that might be a different story.
Well, I think the Bulldogs, I think they've won 4 or 5 games in 4 years. But when you take a look at South Park, Clarence Thomas doesn't get hurt. Last year, maybe, the Sparks make the sectional championship game. But when you take a look at the players that he has, particularly Clarence Thomas, 2 games that he played in the latter part of the season, he had over 250 yards rushing, 4 touchdowns. If he has that type of activity and success this year, he's going to be a force. Then if you look at Brandon Brown, who's outstanding, David Farmer, Marcon Fluid, and Michael Harvin, who will be the quarterback. 4 years, their record is 32-8, and the JVs are 26-6. They're going to be a force. You mentioned Star Point, and I think, even though they've lost a lot of kids, you take a look at 2 years, 16-3 varsity, 13-2-1 JV. Joe Carlson, the new quarterback, Williamsville South, H.A. Urbaniak, 6'4", 255, West New York candidate at linebacker, Jeremy Matute, Xavier Galarza, who's an outstanding athlete, John Clifford, a junior, and Russan Stone, an outstanding two-way player. And then if you look at West Seneca West, a kid that helped them propel
West
into
Seneca
the
East
state championship game was Devari Mathis. He's back, running back DB. 2 linemen, Cam Cacciatoti and I think Colin Wiley. They also have a sophomore quarterback that Jim's probably been grooming the last couple of years. So this league is really going to be competitive. You also have Grand Island, and when you take a look at Ben Muscala, Blake Dialek, Sweet Home with Jeremy Zimmer. Unfortunately, they didn't win a game last year. He'll have them ready to go. Tyrell Laws, Isaiah Gillian, Tim Thomas, and Kenmore East, as you mentioned, they're going to have a couple of good running backs. And Amherst, Ron McCarley is a transfer in from St. Joe's, runs a 4.5 40. Ryan Bitka, 275 lineman. They'll be competitive, but Amherst, unfortunately, has not had the talent in recent years to go against the teams in that A division.
Well, that West Seneca East Trojans travel to Amherst Friday night, so that's a game to watch to see. Has West Seneca East fallen and is Amherst climbing, or are they same right around where they were last year? So we'll have to see. That wraps up for A. We're going to come back in just a moment. We're going to talk about the B's and the C's with Dick Gallagher. I'm Frank Wolf. We'll be back in just a moment. You're watching WNYathletics.com, High School Football Weekly.
WNYathletics.com is the premier high school sports website in Western New York, providing the best sports coverage of Section 6 and Monsignor Martin leagues. Check out our page for daily game recaps and late-breaking sports news. Our online scoreboards are updated in real time. Never miss a goal or touchdown. Visit WNYathletics.com today or follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube.
Welcome back to WNYathletics.com, High School Football Weekly. I'm Frank Wolf, joined by my good buddy Dick Gallagher. We're going to get right back into the B's and the C's in this segment. Dick, there are 4 divisions in B now, and we're going to start at B1. Cheektowaga has been the class of B for quite some time now. Of course, Coach just had a birthday the other day, Coach Fata. I think he turned 29, 30 years old. That guy doesn't ever seem to age. But Cheektowaga has a young running back from O'Hara that transferred in, Quantrell Moss. So Cheektowaga could be getting into that running game this year. We'll have to see. And, of course, they're going to be tough on defense. They always are.
Well, when you look at the quarterbacks that they've had the last 5 or 6 years, all of them were all Western New York candidates. And Moss is an outstanding athlete, and that just gives the Warriors and the coaching staff the ability to do a lot of different things. And I think that when you take a look at Cheektowaga, Pioneer's got some good quality players returning. East Aurora could be a surprise team. Shane McSwan, outstanding two-way player. His dad, John McSwan, started at Niagara Wheatfield, started at Alfred, superintendent at Cleveland Hill. He's got good genes. But I think that Cheektowaga right now continues to be the force in B1.
And I'm hearing Lakeshore is getting better every year. They got some studs maybe at the wideout position that they're going to be looking to utilize their skills. They might even have a brand new kid that came out. Maybe what once was a volleyball player, Nick Stiles. They're looking for big things from him. One thing I did hear from the scrimmages last week, one of the guys that played on a rival team told me that Pioneer, even though they've lost their stud Riggerman, they were still very physical, very tough. So if anyone thinks Pioneer is going to be a walk in the park this year without Riggerman, you're going to be sorely mistaken. They are still a very tough physical team, and they have a great coach and Jim Dupre.
They also have some key players coming back, but particularly the line. And I agree with you 100%. If you're going to go in trying to think that you're just going to walk all over the Panthers, not going to happen. Jim Dupre holds every one of those players accountable every practice.
And I like the way he holds himself accountable too. Like he will make sure that if he put a play in there that he'll take credit, he'll own it. I like that about Coach Dupre. B2, Iroquois, Medina, Maryvale, and Dunkirk, and they welcome Western New York Maritime Charter, and that could be an interesting team now playing down in B, because we know Western New York Maritime. First year last year was a tough, gritty team, but didn't really have anything at the skill positions to put up a lot of points, although they did play South Park pretty tight at the end of the season. I think it all starts with Maryvale now. They're outside of the Cheektowaga division. I think that takes pressure off of Maryvale. I really do. not having to worry about Cheektowaga in the same division now. I think Maryvale could have a really good year. Connor Desiderio, fourth year under center now for the Flyers out there. Dunkirk, not sure what they have out there. We know they've lost a lot, but I'm expecting Maryvale and Western New York Maritime to come out of that division. And I'm not sure what we got with Iroquois and Medina this season.
Well, I think with Dunkirk, they lost Tyrone Wood and Conrad Thomas, who transferred from Dunkirk to Southwestern, which I still don't understand how the section allows that to happen, and they've got to look at new rules to stop that, because it might be going a little different if you're going to Canisius St. Joe's, but if you're going Dunkirk just geographically to Southwestern, doesn't bode well for the Trojans as far as doing the right things.
And that's been going on for quite some time. A lot of players will transfer their senior year, their junior year, because they don't like the look of their team going into that particular season. They got, people in their ears saying, hey, you shouldn't be playing in this offense. You need to go over here. And I think that's killing the sport. That's killing all these sports.
Pennsylvania recently, I think it was last year, they passed new regulations related to transfers and all that to maybe not eliminate that problem, but to cut it down big time. And I think that's what New York State needs to do too.
Over in B3, Lackawanna is the team I'm hearing a lot about. We'll talk about them in a minute, but you've also got Depew, Albion, Springville, West Valley teaming up together, and then Olean. Olean, you never know what you're going to get. Last year I thought they underachieved. I thought they had some good players down there. They should have been good enough to compete for a spot to go to New Era, in my honest opinion. But Albion, they still have a nice couple of players coming back. They graduated some nice guys. Depew, I like their quarterback, but they might need some help at the skill positions.
I think Albion Brilliance Johnson, what a name that is for playing football, Brilliance. Excuse me, but Adam Crenning's really done an exceptional job the 2 or 3 years that he's been there. They have a lineman, 6'7", 260 pounds. I don't know if that was a typo in the information. Cody Wilson, he's outstanding. Lackawanna is always going to be strong, particularly with Adam Card out there. And Olean Nick Fredericangelo is a 3-year starter. Cole Anastasia is back, H.A. Adada. But I agree with you. A lot of times, like last year, I thought the Huskies were going to be better, but they weren't. But on this, I think that the two teams representing B3 will be Albion and Lackawanna.
I agree. Who do you like at Lackawanna again to come out and have a good season?
I think Drew Kowalski, Javier Morales, Shyam Smalls, Mohammed Slotty, and Jeremiah Presley. And they have tremendous talent in all their athletics, and they'll be a force this year. And last year they had a little down year.
And moving on to B4, Tonawanda, Burgard, Alden, Newfane, and Eden North Collins. Eden North Collins, I know the coaching staff is excited about their wide receivers. They said they have some really good playmakers this year. Newfane, Jaden here is going to be a name you're going to hear quite a bit about. Great running back. I know Francis Begg did his piece on the Connolly Cup hopefuls, and he had Jaden Hears listed. Alden, the Bulldogs down there have that brand new turf field, the blue turf. It looks gorgeous down there. Really looks awesome. Burgard and Tonawanda. Tonawanda, right now, people are talking that the Warriors might be the class of B4. We'll have to wait and see about that. They get Lackawanna right out of the gate on the road Saturday, a game which WNY Athletics will be covering.
I think Tonawanda should be the preseason favorite at B4. With Joe Kelly's done an exceptional job. He's got the players, Jason Fraser, Marty Lacko, transfer from O'Hara, Caden Herman, Mike Butch, and Robert Wilcock. And they returned 17 starters, so they're going to be a force. Newfane, Jaden Hears, 6 feet, 230 pounds, running back, rushed for 1,000 yards last year. Burgard, 6'3", 290, Sincere Jefferson.
Been hearing his name a lot.
The Bulldogs line. Eden, I think will be better, be more competitive. C.J. Schroeder's outstanding quarterback and running back. And their JV was 5-2 last year. Alden will depend because they had a run of years straight, 4, 5, 6 years straight, where they were in the playoffs. They had Domenico as the coach, and then when the current coach took over, and then all of a sudden they didn't have a lot of boys in the sophomore and junior class. That hurt them big time. But going in, I think Tonawanda's got to be the favorite.
And I like their quarterback, the young quarterback at Tonawanda, Sean Mangold's son, who was quarterback at Kenmore West. I believe it's his son Justin now is under center there, and he had a pretty decent season last year. In year 2 as a quarterback, I'm interested to see how that plays out there. But talking through B's, we like Cheektowaga. It could come down to Maryvale, Western New York Maritime Charter there, and then we like Lackawanna in 3 and Tonawanda in 4. So those are the teams that we're going to really keep our eye on, and that's who we think will come out of the B's at least. In C, if we start with C North, Akron, you got to love the numbers in Akron. I heard they had close to 70 kids come out this year. Kenny Stoll must have said if you don't come out for football, you're going to spend 2 weeks worth of detention, and you're coming to school during the Christmas break. I don't know what Kenny said to him to get him out, but Kenny Stolt, one of the assistants there, and JV coach, the chairman of football. I don't know what kind of magic wand he had, but a lot of kids from Akron came out this year, and I'm really, really happy to hear that Andrew Klaus is the head coach there, and he's a good guy to talk to. And I've been at one of his practices earlier during training camp, and those kids were ready to go. They look good. Of course, Cleve Hill. It all starts and stops with Cleve Hill. Glenn Graham, who is probably one of the classiest coaches you're going to come across. They got a beautiful field there. I believe this is their first full season playing in the field there. Carl Kiras Field, one of the Trench Trophy guys. Then JFK, I'm hearing, could have a pretty decent season. Wilson, they're going to drop a little bit with Frericks not being there, but Drew Westmoreland is still at Wilson, and he's one of the better players in C. Silver Creek, Forestville, they take on CSP in week 2 on a Saturday. That's a game I'm going to head down to. And Roy Hart, we have to see what we got out of C North, but right now I'm looking at Akron and Cleve Hill.
I think Wilson with Drew Westmoreland and Declan Ferry, who's a 3-year starter. He's, they're all outstanding. Cleveland Hill, Chris Diem, who's been a 3-year starter, out West New York, I think second or third team. Alex Rojak, 6'5", 250. Glenn has had that team in the state championship semifinals 2 years in a row. His record's exceptional. He's won over 110 games, and he's just a class act. Akron, I think, really is going to be very competitive. Silver Creek is the unknown. They have some players returning, Chandler Eggleston being one of the best. And JFK returns 17 starters, including an excellent lineman, Darrell Dabney. Roy Hart, I have no information on them, but if you take a look at it, the 4 out of 7 will be in the playoffs. You got Cleveland Hill, Wilson, Akron, either JFK, Silver Creek.
And then you head down to C South, where Fredonia's now a C team, and they boast one of the top players in our area. Jake Skinner has been getting a lot of attention, and he's almost as good as advertised. But that Nick Whitfield quarterback, man, this guy's 6'5", and he doesn't have like the fundamentals down just yet, but he's only a junior, and if that kid can get them under control, I mean, this kid can air it out. And he was fun to watch last Saturday. I took the road trip down with Dennis Serra from the Connolly Cup, and we were impressed by what we saw out of Fredonia. Southwestern, very good team. They don't look like they've lost a lot. I know Alex Card and Cole Snyder, 2 Connolly Cup finalists last year, but I'll tell you, they had a kid named Austin Rott, transferred in from Silver Creek, and then they have AF, the other quarterback down there that's been waiting in the wings, so to speak. Their quarterback down there, I'm forgetting his name. You can help me out with that. Who's the quarterback for Southwestern this year?
I don't know.
I hope Jehu knows.
Because you had a quarterback down there for 4 years who now is at Rutgers. And if you take a look at it, they returned 29 players. They were 9-1, 29 players. Their line is all on back. They've had a couple of transfers. They have to be the favorite. And I agree with you that it comes down to Fredonia and Southwestern in that league. And if you take a look at the others, I really believe that those two are going to dominate.
We'll have to take a look at Chautauqua Lake, Westfield, Brockton. Of course, Kurt Fisher no longer the coach there. Falconer, Cassadaga Valley, I'm not sure what to make of them just yet, or Allegheny Limestone. Go on to Pine Valley. Always a tough game there. And Portville could be much improved.
They've got 19 starters returning.
That's a good step.
The coaches had to pay a price, and the Panthers have had to pay a price. But they've got 19 starters returning. So they'll be a force, and they should be one of the playoff teams. But if you take a look at Southwestern, they should be in their 4th consecutive sectional championship game. I don't know who the North will be, but I'll tell you what, the Trojans won a victory because they've lost 3 consecutive times to Cleve Hill.
One of the players you want to keep your eye on at Southwestern, Nushan Munir. He's an exceptional talent, good athlete down there, both sides of the ball. He's one guy that I'll keep my eyes on this year, of course. Moving on to Class D, returning state champion, Class D, CSP Wolfpack, Garrett Hinsdale, Cam Barmore. They still got a couple other players, Zevon Overton, and a few more, but I think it all starts and stops with CSP being the favorite there in D. Maybe Franklinville, Ellicottville now move back down to Class D. They might have something for them. Of course, Coach Bartozek left Franklinville, Ellicottville. He's back at Salamanca, his alma mater. And, that's not going to be a walk in the park through the Salamanca Warriors, so I'll be looking forward to see how they do. Randolph, we saw them Saturday young, very young. Talked to Coach Brent Brown. Wasn't shy about that, but he said his kids are having a lot of fun down there. Tyler Hine, the quarterback, he's still a really good athlete. Of course, he's a basketball player committed to, I believe, Duville or Medaille. I believe it's Medaille down there he'll be heading to. And Cat Little Valley, not really sure what to make of them just yet, but it all starts and ends with CSP. They need to get that line in order, though. They lost all their starters on line. And as long as they can protect Garrett Hinsdale, they should be okay, but that's a big area of concern right now for the Wolfpack.
Franklinville's got a new coach, Ellicottville, Jason Marsh. And if you take a look at it, Clayton Rowland, Logan Frank, Zachary Wolf are all quality players. Salamanca is okay. They've got Shad back at Salamanca now, I think. But Tyler Hine from Randolph, outstanding athlete. Brett Brown's won a couple or 2 or 3 state championships. He's an outstanding coach. He's got still has his assistant coaches with him, and if he's got the talent, they're going to be a force.
He said they're young, but he's really excited about his 8th grade and 9th grade class. He said the numbers are way up there. He says, so this might not be the year. He goes, but look out, we're coming back. We were gone for a little while, but we're on our way back. He really likes the numbers of his 8th and 9th graders.
The Cardinals are back, if not this year, next year.
Yep. We'll get into 8-man real quick. Frewsburg and Maple Grove was announced just about a month ago that Maple Grove will be playing an 8-man schedule this year. Kind of sent the Class D schedule into a flux there, but it's not what they wanted to do, but it's something that they had to do to survive as a football team. So Maple Grove and Frewsburg will be playing an 8-man schedule this year, and we'll pay attention to that, and we'll be reporting on that weekly. We'll get their recaps on WNY Athletics. We'll be playing a lot of teams from Section 5 this year. But before we wrap up, I just want to let you know, on Friday nights, Francis Beck will be in studio at WNY Athletics. He'll have a show at 9:30 p.m. called The Final Drive. And this show, Dick, is going to be pretty cool. He'll be giving you all the updates from the games, the final scores, and things of that nature, who did what. And he'll have coaches calling in. He'll have reporters from all over the WNY Athletics, all of our team of reporters that are out there at games. They'll be calling in and giving updates to Francis. And it'll be run for about an hour and a half. But if you go to our Mixler channel, Mixler.com/WNY Athletics, you'll hear Francis at 9:30 every Friday night. And I'll even be substituting for him here now and again. But Francis is looking forward to having you join him each Friday night, 9:30 p.m. on Mixler.com. That's Mixlr.com/WNY Athletics. And I'll have that at the end of our broadcast. You'll be able to see that web address. But keep that web address handy, because Thursday we're at North Tonawanda for the kickoff to the 2019 season. Niagara Wheatfield is traveling to North Tonawanda to play the Lumberjacks. Mark Johnson, Timmy Morozek will be on the call. John Simon will be on the sideline. I'll be producing that, and we're looking forward to that first game of the year. Friday night, I'm heading down to Erie High School to cover the St. Francis game. That game will be broadcast on the NFHS network. I'll show you the link on where to go to watch that game at the end of this broadcast. And then on Saturday, WNY Athletics will be doing a broadcast of the Tonawanda at Lackawanna game this Saturday. Jake Fyock and John Simon have that call. So keep that Mixler.com/WNY Athletics channel. Favorite it, so you can always go to that and you'll see or hear those games. So keep it locked here, WNY Athletics. We're starting, this is our 4th season of covering Western New York high school sports, and we're very excited to have y'all back with us. Dick, it's our 2nd year doing this show. I'm looking forward to having 10 straight great weeks. Danny's Restaurant. We're going to be doing a couple of shows from Danny's out there by the airport on Genesee.
Oh, yeah.
In a couple of weeks, we're going to be out at G&G Fitness, another new sponsor to the program. So get ready, Western New York high school football fans. Dick Gallagher and myself, thank you for welcoming us into your home or classroom or on the bus, wherever you may be.
Just wanted to compliment you and Western New York Athletics and all the people that are working for you to make this happen. I've been following high school football since the late 70s, and the best thing that ever happened to high school football years ago was Empire Sports. They went out of business. The best thing that's happened is Western New York Athletics and what you're doing, not just with football, but for several other sports. And I think that in due time, you're going to see a tremendous amount of coverage on the part of and listeners for high school football, just based on what you're doing. So congratulations.
Well, we appreciate that. Thank you very much. We learned from the best, and that's you, of course. And, we want to do what Empire Sports Network did. We want to follow what Bob Kaczynski and those guys did on that broadcast. We miss it greatly. And, of course, John Simon, Howard Simon's son, who worked for Empire Sports Network, is working with WNY Athletics now. And so we're glad to have him. But, again, we appreciate you watching our first episode of Western New York Athletics High School Football Weekly. You can catch us Thursday night down at North Tonawanda on Mixler.com. We'll carry that live audio broadcast for you. Then Friday, St. Francis down at Erie High School. Francis Beck, 9:30 p.m., Mixler.com/WNY Athletics. He's got his Friday night final drive show, so be sure to tune into that program. And then on Saturday, we're covering the Tonawanda at Lackawanna game. It's going to be an excellent year. That's all I know. And, Dick, I'm glad to be back here again with you doing this show. So we'll see you next week. I believe we are doing the show from Danny's on Genesee. So for all of us at WNY Athletics, enjoy the season.